All right, we're going to talk about something that sounds, well, completely backwards. It's a story about how one of the biggest brands in the world, Starbucks, discovered that moving less actually helps you achieve more. And what's really fascinating is how this obsession with efficiency didn't just save them from a crisis, it actually, weirdly enough, restored their soul. So I want you to picture a Starbucks during that crazy morning rush. You know the scene, right? It's just controlled chaos. But here's the thing. If you ignore all the noise for a second and just watch the most experienced baristas, you start to notice something odd. Something that leads to a really surprising question. It's a real puzzle, isn't it? Our brains are wired to think that speed looks like a frantic blur of action. But in a high-performance environment like this, the true masters, the real pros, they're the ones who are almost perfectly still. How is that possible? Well, it all boils down to this: the illusion of speed versus actual speed. The illusion is all that stuff we associate with being busy, running around, reaching for things, bending down. It looks productive, but really it's just stress and wasted energy. Then there's actual speed. And that, it turns out, looks like stillness. It looks like calm. It's a total economy of motion. Now, to really get this, we've got to rewind the clock a bit, because Starbucks had to learn this lesson the hard way. They learned it at a time when all that chaotic motion had nearly brought the entire company to its knees. The year is 2008. The whole financial world is just melting down. And you know what? So is Starbucks. I mean, after years of insane, unstoppable growth, their stock price was suddenly sliced in half. Customers were walking away, complaining that the service was just too slow. So, founder Howard Schultz comes back as CEO, and he's facing this massive, massive challenge. How in the world do you fix a sinking ship? Schultz knew one thing for sure. He couldn't mess with the coffee. The coffee was sacred. The problem wasn't the product at all, it was the process. So he does something that sounds totally out of left field for a coffee company. He brings in industrial engineers to look at making a latte like it was a high-tech manufacturing line. Okay, so what happens when you let a bunch of engineers with stopwatches loose in a coffee shop? Well, they walked in and almost immediately spotted this huge, invisible problem that was sucking time and energy out of every single sale. They even had a name for it: motion waste, or in the language of lean manufacturing, muda. This is literally any movement, walking, bending, reaching, that doesn't directly add value to the drink in your hand. Like the engineers said, it's not actually work, it's just exercise on the company's dime. And when they crunched the numbers, the results were just staggering. A full 30% of a barista's time was spent on wasted motion. Just think about that for a second. For every 10-hour shift, 3 of those hours were completely lost to just walking back and forth, reaching for things, and bending over. 3 hours. To show just how bad it was, they used this amazing tool called a spaghetti diagram. You literally just trace a worker's path on a floor plan. And the diagram for a Starbucks, it looked like a tangled mess of noodles. We're talking miles of useless walking every single shift, as baristas were just crisscrossing the store to get milk, then get ice, then get syrups. So how do you solve a spaghetti problem? Well, you don't tell the baristas to run faster. No, you build them a smarter place to work. The solution was brilliant, and honestly, surprisingly simple. The entire fix was built around one simple idea from lean manufacturing: the point of use principle. And it's as simple as it sounds. Everything a worker needs to do their job should be right there, right within arm's reach. No walking, no bending, no searching. Period. And you can see how this played out. The changes were so logical, but so powerful. So instead of bending down for milk in a low fridge, boom, it's in pitchers right on the counter. Those syrups that used to be on a back counter, nope, now they're right next to the espresso machine. The ice bin for frappuccinos, it's now sitting right next to the blender. Just small, common-sense moves that together eliminated thousands of wasted steps a day. They also rethought the routine itself. Look, an espresso shot takes between 18 and 23 seconds to pull. That's a fixed amount of time. So instead of just watching it happen, baristas were trained to use that exact time to steam the milk for the drink. It brilliantly turned what was once idle waiting time into productive parallel work. So, yeah. The results were immediate and dramatic. They saved a ton of time, a ton of money. But the most profound impact of all these changes was something nobody saw coming. It wasn't just about making coffee faster. It was about the human experience. Let's start with the hard data, though. On average, they shaved 8 seconds off every single order. Now, I know what you're thinking. 8 seconds, who cares? But when you're a company that serves billions of cups of coffee, those seconds add up to a mind-boggling amount of saved time. And check out how those saved seconds scaled up. Each store could suddenly handle 10% more customers, 10% more business, without hiring a single extra person. That is a massive boost to the bottom line. And it was all done just by getting people to stop walking around so much. But here it is. This is the part that's truly magical. By keeping the baristas still, by keeping them planted and facing the counter, they could suddenly do something they couldn't do when they were running around. They could make eye contact. They could actually talk to the customers. Efficiency didn't kill that human connection. It created the space for it to come back to life. So let's zoom out and talk about the big lesson here, because this Starbucks story applies to literally any team, any office, any factory. It all comes down to a really fundamental question we should all be asking ourselves. See, we all confuse being busy with being productive. A traditional leader might see a team running around, totally stressed out, and think, wow, look how hard they're working. But a lean thinker sees that exact same scene and thinks, wow, our process is totally broken. Real productivity, it's calm, it's focused. It actually looks almost effortless. It really all comes down to this incredible metaphor. A leader's job isn't to crack a whip and scream for the horse to go faster. Their real job is to get off the cart, walk ahead, and remove the rocks from the road. It's about making the path smoother by getting rid of the obstacles, the wasted motion, the frustrating little steps that get in everyone's way. So that leaves one last question, and this one is for you. Take a hard look at your own work, your own daily routines. What are the unnecessary steps you take? The frustrating tasks, the wasted movements? Where are the rocks in your road? And maybe more importantly, what could you accomplish if you just took a moment to clear them out of the way?